Alright guys, TacticalRab here, and today I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. The roller coaster of the CDL continues. Just yesterday, the snipers were banned in Modern Warfare 2. The community was in uproar. Even some of the pros were in uproar themselves, despite seemingly making this decision between them. 24 hours later, the community has come out on top again. 2-0 in the last couple of years on the sniper rifle bans. The sniper rifles are now unbanned yet again, and all this drama is now kicked off onto what can we do in the future to prevent this situation reoccurring. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. So much to talk about today, we've got to hop straight in. Gentleman's Agreement version 2.0 yesterday, or well this is 2 days ago I guess now, was when this was first being discussed. Snipers fully restricted, smokes fully restricted as well, and yeah, the sniper ones, we talked about all the drama about this, right, because it doesn't seem to me that the snipers are too strong in this game, especially with no attachments on. Like, you basically just have to stand still, very immobile, more difficult to use than some sniper rifles in the past. Yes, it still kills in one shot, and still has aim assist and this type of stuff, but you know, it's not that strong, especially compared to Vanguard. The thing that always frustrates me about this discussion is if the CDL said, hey look pros, we don't care what you say, you've got to use the snipers, the pros would still not use more than one per team. Like, there's no way they're going to use like 2-3 per team as if they're that overpowered. Like, it's only going to be one per team maximum. Now, the theory is that without smoke grenades, because they're kind of broken, you have to get rid of the snipers. That wasn't even the case last year. So Octane was like, hang on, what is this logic? How have we gone from last year's logic where snipers are okay without smokes, and they certainly were, to this year where they're all of a sudden not? So it's an absolute mess, and the pros decided between them, a 9 out of 12 majority in the chat, that they should go. But the theory was that there was 2 individuals in the chat out of the 12 that effectively managed to convince the others by threatening, you know, coerce them really, by threatening to use thermals so they could counter the smokes, you know, all this stuff. Absolute chaos in that chat, I'm sure. And as Ben J. Nassim says, did we get to the bottom of who's causing this? We tried to figure it out yesterday. Was it Clayster? Was it Scrappy? Was it Methods? Like, who was involved in this? And as Method says, he heard 3 different stories on what happened, and none of them even line up. So it's an absolute mess. Now, this is what Methods then says starting out last night. We need a rep chat documentary. So it's obviously still all kicking off in there. And guess what? Just a few minutes later, Clay tweets this out. Cyberbullying does work. Community 2, pros 0. So incredible how quickly these pros will fold given a bit of pressure from the community on this. And I mean, yes, crazy really, because some pros agree to this, and then a lot of pros come out publicly and say that, oh, it wasn't me, like all this type of stuff. And then the pros obviously aren't so happy about it across the board. The community obviously is like, well, guys, we're playing Modern Warfare 2 for a couple of years. It's going to be a painful experience, especially without snipers for search and destroy. You guys have got to bring them back. And then there was, you know, even talk from Nate John. We'll see more from Nate here in a second, because he might have been one of the crucial members to actually get this back in business here. So, you know, as then Octane comes out and confirms, we can snipe again. Thank you for your service, COD community. So incredible how consistent this has been now the last couple of years. The pros try and ban it. The community is in uproar and backlash. And, you know, obviously all of you guys watching here that, you know, watched the video and commented and just, you know, tweeting at people made some sort of impact, right? We obviously let our thoughts be known to a certain extent. And the pros now folded, or the ones that didn't want this to happen, and snipers are now back in business again. So the gentleman's agreement has now been reverted. The community is up 2-0, because it happened last year as well, right? The pros banned it, and we said, look, guys, you've got to use it for the kickoff. It's a kickoff, there's no points on the line, at least try it. The pros were like, okay, yeah, whatever, we'll use snipers. Turned out they weren't even that good. Some teams rocked up to the kickoff and never pulled out a sniper once in search and destroy, and with the same teams that were saying it was way too powerful and needs to get banned before the game begins. That's the frustrating part of the bias behind all these GAs. The same thing pretty much happened this year, but again, where the community comes out on top. So congratulations, everyone. Now look, the smokes are still gone. The M4 is still in, and this is comedy to many people. The fact that the snipers got banned before the M4 did. To me, it's only a matter of time, it seems, until the M4 is banned. It reminds me a lot of what happened in Cold War, where everyone knew the XM4 was very good, but you know, the pros waited until they actually got smoked by it on LAN, which will probably be the case at Major 1, until they then decided, you know what, okay, let's get rid of it. And that's probably only a matter of time. We'll see on that one. The smokes that were gone, don't really care that much about the smokes. It's frustrating. It does add more depth to search and destroy, but maybe in due course they could just change their mind again and bring smokes back at some point. And over time, as this game progresses, we'll get new maps in, and you know, things should be still kind of interesting for search and destroy. Snipers to me is the main thing that has now officially returned. And yeah, one example from last season, right? Clayster with this nice little 2-piece he had here on Tuscan search and destroy at the kickoff last season. So you guys remember this one, takes down TJ, hits the no scope here to kind of bait Capstone getting off the bomb, and then goes all the way around, hits the final shot on Capstone. And yeah, really hype moment from last season. Clay gets up and is celebrating about it, and I think even Standy said in the commentary, it's good to have snipers snipers back in business. Now, well, the same thing has basically happened yet again this year, and obviously other pros might be so happy about it as well, with Dashy and the like. Of course, well, his sniper was not too bad, let's say, back in the Black Ops 4 days. This is one of the most ridiculous clips ever, to be honest, where he somehow no-scopes this guy through this entire door on Arsenal. If you guys remember this clip, I mean, like, it doesn't really no-scope him. How did it even see him? I don't understand. What was that about? So, anyway, yeah, just some moments from COD past. We don't really know which teams wanted this gone, like, because, of course, if 9 out of 12 agreed on the whole, or if their representatives agreed, then it's tough to say, because you'd think that the likes of Simp, maybe on FaZe, and Dashy and OpTic would be pretty heavily in favour of keeping the snipers in, but I don't really know if we're ever going to get to the bottom of it, and does it really matter at the end of the day now that the snipers are officially back? Now, must just mention this real quick from TJ, COD Pro's a brain dead, he says, and tweet since deleted. Now, it's tough to say exactly what he means here, because you can argue, oh, you know, is this the fact that he's calling them brain dead for bringing back the snipers, like, as in Boston wanted the snipers gone, which probably is true, because even a couple of weeks ago we heard the rumours going around that, or I think Octane said on stream that Methods wanted to get rid of the sniper, and so maybe he was one of the guys behind it, or maybe TJ is saying here that, like, how have they got rid of the snipers and brought them back before doing anything about the M4, which might be TJ's point as well, just because, you know, he's a poor SMG player living in an M4's world at the present time. Now, this is the Nadeshot part of it. Nade tweeted this out, we saw this tweet yesterday, and apparently he got in a call with some pro players, and, you know, in the call with Nadeshot, the pros were speaking rather differently to what they were in front of, well, each other, I suppose, in this GA chat behind the scenes. As Modok says, kind of, well, one of the managing guys over 100 Thieves, it's funny how different and professional the pros were acting last night when Nade was in the call, back to the same stuff this morning, he says. And even Slasher reckons who was acting different. Yeah, Atom says Marky B, so I wonder if Slasher was in the call as well, and, you know, wants some names on this, or knows some names on this, or maybe he himself included, right? I don't know. But, yeah, pretty spicy, right? Because the pros, man, like, these guys are just big kids, I swear. They will talk all this trash, or, like, just run their mouths basically on Twitter, and then when it comes to actually atting someone and calling someone out individually, they never want to do it, right? We've seen this the last few days, when they're saying, oh yeah, XYZ team, like, they wanted it gone, but, like, they won't actually call anyone out individually, despite the fact that clearly, like, there's going to be some drama behind the scenes here, right? Because the next time, look, the pros is kind of a friendship league, right? The pros all get on to a certain extent, but when this stuff happens in the GA chat, and the pros disagree and are at odds with each other, the next time one of the teams that wanted it banned goes up against a team that was vehemently against it being banned, like, you know, it's going to get pretty spicy, especially if someone gets a nice play and search and destroy with one of the sniper rifles. So yeah, I guess you've got to give Nadeshot some credit here, because he came out with his point saying that it's stupid to get rid of them for many reasons that I'm sure, you know, we all understand, and then when he actually made these points to them in person or in the call, then they were like, yeah, actually, yeah, maybe you've got a fair point there. So that's the thing, if you just let the pros run it themselves, they'll do what they want. And this is the thing, as Sasha goes on to say, the type of logic you deal with if you're in these GA chats, can't ban the M4 because we're too close to the matches, but completely change search and destroy and get rid of the snipers and smokes 5 days away from the games. And he also says it was hilarious watching people who thought that the chat wouldn't just fold one day into the sniper ban, which is what has happened once again. Now, even this and BenJ seem pretty spicy. People want to protect their teams and spots. Process right now has too much bias until it is blown up and replaced with something better. This will keep happening every year, which it does, right? I mean, as Adi says, there's bias in play for players and teams to protect their own spots and their own interests by voting in a certain manner. So what is the solution to this? Is there actually a good solution to it? Because even as Attach says here, the M4 is still in because of a few bad apples. This is what I mean in terms of a bit of a bad blood situation, because, you know, Attach seems to be the man representing Minnesota in that GA representative chat, and he of course knows of some other bad apples, which he will not name, that want to keep the M4 in, whereas they want it gone. So whenever they play each other, you know, it's going to get kind of interesting, right? And this is how things work behind the scenes. Now, what is the solution? Because as Clay says, in reply to BenJ Naseem, it needs to be time for some sort of real committee where, you know, we get rid of this BS playground drama every year where players try to protect their spot via GAs. So, you know, Commissioner Ben, I've been saying since World War II we need to blow this up. The process is backwards because we're making an inherently casual game into a competitive game, which, look, I agree. It's difficult for the pros. They've got to make this game playable, but they never do a particularly good job, to be honest, and there could be a much better way of handling these, you know, what should actually be banned and what should not, because we want the things that get removed to actually be for the betterment of competitive integrity and the skill gap and hopefully viewer experience as well, whereas the pros are always massively biased on this. So BenJ Naseem's his idea is representatives from the league, players, the studio and the teams. Voting process is to temporarily restrict and if required permanently restrict items. Everyone has to buy into this though, so you know, he reckons that we discuss this with the studio, the league and the ownership groups, which which maybe is or is not going to happen. Now, you know, some other ideas, Parasite comes up with his solution here, and he basically says, you know, just let me make the rules. He says, look, I'd have a good process for it. I'd consult every team as to why they want something in or out. Those with valid reasoning would be counted as a vote. Then the pros and cons of each rationale would be weighed and discussed between some sort of committee to find something that would work. And as well, he goes on to say they'll have to present rationale. And Sasha's like, yeah, good luck getting the pro teams to present any actual rationale as to why they need to get rid of stuff. And if they don't have a good argument, then it doesn't happen, is effectively the point. Now, this I thought was a quite interesting thread from Bevels, former COD coach for the Los Angeles Guerrillas. No change to GA's too big will likely be implemented because the players aren't really interested in actually changing the status quo. But if the way this whole thing is done is to be changed, it needs to come from the CDL. The league need to step in and say, hey, we're not happy with this process being run every single year. We're going to implement a proper process to decide what gentlemen's agreements are actually allowed. Now, you know, could you come up with a list of pro players or former pro players? You know, a lot of the guys that are now gone to Warzone, to be honest, the likes of TP and co, to come up with some sort of committee? Or do you, in Bevel's idea, and of course making the coaches do it also implements the same bias into play. So, you know, really you need some sort of council, as has already been mentioned, and there's plenty of eligible people that could potentially do this. But interesting idea, right? Council should be chosen by the players as they must abide by their rulings, and the decision must reach unanimity, right? So it must be unanimous between the members of the council that they want this gone, not a majority or anything. If every member of the council agrees that the pros are right in wanting this gone or whatever, then it happens. And if they don't agree unanimously, then it doesn't happen. So there's flaws with every potential solution, but this is just one example here. And even as Sasha goes on to say, as it stands now, 9 out of 12 teams voting for something, or really 9 out of 12 players in the chat. And this is the thing to me, is that yes, you might get 9 out of 12 of the players agreeing in the representative chat, but do those players really represent their entire team? Like, you could argue not, because maybe one of the players on their team, 2 of the players on the team actually wanted the snipers in, but yet their representative wants them gone because, you know, maybe it benefits them, maybe they think it benefits their team, but the team disagrees. Who knows, right? But yeah, right now it's kind of a majority 9 out of 12 situation to get something gone, and that's the overwhelming majority. But yeah, there's just got to be a better way to run this. But definitely tweet your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Like, what is the real solution here? Because even as Parasite talks about the M4, I would thoroughly like a reason as to why these people don't want it gone. Statistically, it makes sense to remove the M4. It increases the quality of life of SMG players, creating a more consistent weapon, right? Bringing in the SCAR for the majority of AR engagements. And as Attach said, it's going to be crazy on LAN too. I wouldn't be surprised if it's gone after Major 1. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? First of all, congratulations everyone, and good job. We managed to get these guys to fold, and the snipers are officially back. The second part of it is, when's the M4 going to go, if it is at all? And in future, how do we create a much better environment and ecosystem for GAs to actually be done in a fair and equitable manner? GAs, I think, need to exist to a certain extent. Especially with Infinity Ward games, there's always some broken stuff that really, if it was allowed, would not create for the best competitive environment. But allowing the pros to just have free reign on what they do and have a majority, and basically they decide how they make the rules, is probably not the best way to do it either for all the stakeholders involved in this. And I think it probably is about time the CDL step in and say, hey, we're going to come up with some sort of solution to this. And you know, what that solution is remains to be seen, if it will ever arrive and the CDL actually want to take action on stuff. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.